and gentlemen, if you would be kind enough to find your seats, we're going to begin in just a couple of minutes.
If I may have your attention, please. At this time, we're going to begin the services here in the sanctuary for Natalie M Ross. As we begin the service, I would ask if any of you has a cell phone or any other noise-making device, please turn them off at this time. Officiating the service here today is Cantor Michelle Drucker-Fried.
The ancient rite of Kriya stems from a piece of Torah. Jacob is told that his son has died, Joseph. It isn't true, we find out later, but when he hears the news, he rends his garment, thereby showing his internal life externally. I'm going to ask Sana and Robyn to please rise for this ancient rite. And as they tear their garment or their small ribbon, we notice that even if they were to sew it up, their hearts would never be the same. I'm going to ask everyone who has a part in the service to please use the far lectern so that we don't share germs. I'd like to invite forward Patty Black.
Every Tuesday, Natalie and I used to drive around and do errands and have arguments and sing. And this is a song that we sang every week, and I know that all of you have sung this song with her too. So I want you to all sing. I need to hear you because. So, you are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. The other night, dear, as I lay sleeping, I dreamt I held you in my arms. When I awoke, dear, I was mistaken. So I hung my head and cried.
Anne, would you come forward, please? Anne Blanton, sorry, beg pardon.
A.A. Milne. It's Boo. The friend. There are lots of people who are always asking things, like dates and pounds and ounces, and the names of funny kings. And the answer is either sixpence or 100 inches long. And I know they'll think me silly if I get the answer wrong. So Pooh and I go whispering, and Pooh looks very bright and says, well, I say sixpence, but I don't suppose I'm right. And then it doesn't matter what the answer ought to be, because if he's right, I'm right. And if he's wrong, it isn't me. Sorry, I can't see the middle. So either that. Here it is. Journey's end. Christopher, where are you going, Christopher Robyn? Just up to the top of the hill, upping and upping until I'm
invite Adrian Schreiber forward as I sing Shiviti, Psalm 16. Shiviti Adonai l'nei tamid, ki mimini lehemot. Lachem samach libi v'yagil kevodi, af besari yishkon lavetach, ki lo tazon nafshi lishol, lo titen chasetcha lirot shachet, tudieni urachayim, urachayim, sovas marachot panacha, ne'emot b'mincha netzach, shiviti Adonai l'nei tamid, ki mimini b'lemot.
I have set the eternal always before me. God is at my side. I shall not be moved. Therefore does my heart exult and my soul rejoice. My being is secure. For you will not abandon me to death, nor let your faithful one see destruction. You show me the path of life. Your presence brings fullness of joy. Enduring happiness is your gift.
The Dutchman's not the kind of man to keep his thumb jammed in the damn river. His dreams She lived it when the tomb was very new. He hums a line or two, they hum together in the night. The Dutchman falls asleep, and Margaret puts the candle out. Let us go to the banks of the ocean, where the walls rise above the spider's feet. Long ago I used to be a young man, and if Margaret remembers that for me.
The Dutchman, one of Nat's favorites. Death has taken our beloved Natalie. Our friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence, there's lamentation. In their tears, there's loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God. Be with them. For Natalie's love that united us in life, and which death cannot sever. For her companionship that we shared along life's paths, and which continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of her heart and mind that brought us joy and happiness, and is now a precious remembrance. For all these and more, we give thanks to God. In this time of grief, we listen to the voice of our sacred scripture that brings us the ever-new message of God's nearness. It tells us of our kinship with the Creator, in light as in darkness, in joy as in sorrow, in life as in death. Adonai roi lo echsar, ino tashen yipartseni, hamei menuchot, yenaleni, nafshi yoshvei, yaheni be'al tzedek, leman shemo, kam ki ele vegeit salmavet.
The Psalm of David. The Eternal is my shepherd, I shall never be in need. Amidst the choicest grasses does God set me down. God leads me by the calmest waters and restores my soul. God takes me along the paths of righteousness in keeping with the honor of God's name. Even should I wander in the valley of the darkest shadows, I will fear no evil. You are with me, God. Your power and support are there to comfort me. You set in front of me a table in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup is overflowing. Surely good and loving kindness will pursue me all the days of my life, and I shall come to dwell inside the house of the Eternal for a length of days.
מזמור לדוד. אדוני אלוהים לא אחסר, בנאות תשר מצאני, על מי מנוחות ינחלם, נפשי ישופר. יכנה במעגלי צדק למען שמו, גם כי אלך בגיא צלמוות לא ירא רע, כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשלתך, הנה ינחמנו, תערוך לפני שולחן, נגד צורריי, ישנת בשמן ראשי, כוסי רבייה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפונו כל ימי חיי. ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים.
Sinai el harim me'ayin yavo Ezri me'im Adonai Hase shamayim Haaretz al yitin lamot raglecha al yanum shomrecha hine lo yanum velo yishan shomer Yisrael Adonai shmorcha Adonai tzilcha al yad yemenecha Yomam hashamash lo yakeka B'yarei halayla Adonai yishmercha mikol ra Yishmor et nafshecha Adonai yishmor tzedcha uvorecha Me'ata ve'ad olam. I lifted my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from God, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God, your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul. You're going and you're coming, now and forever.
Natalie's calling card is a combination of wit, wisdom, and whimsy. Her favorite children's book captures these qualities. Remember the Night Rainbow by Cooper Edens.
If tomorrow morning sky falls, have clouds for breakfast.
If night falls, use stars for streetlights.
If the moon gets stuck in a tree, cover the hole in the sky with a strawberry.
If you have butterflies in your stomach, ask them into your heart.
If your heart catches in your throat, ask the bird how she sings.
If the birds forget their songs, listen to a pebble instead.
If you lose a memory, embroider a new one to take its place.
If you lose the key, throw away the house.
If the clock stops, use your own hands to tell time.
If the light goes out, wear it around your neck and go dancing.
If the bus doesn't come, catch a fast cloud.
If it's the last dance, dance backwards.
If you find your socks don't match, stand in a flower bed.
If your shoes don't fit, give them to the fish in the pond.
If your horse needs shoes, let him use his wings.
If the sun never shines again, hold fireflies in your hand to keep warm.
If you're afraid of the dark, remember the night rainbow.
If there is no happy ending, make one out of cooking dough.
And this is why when Natalie or anyone around her was running late, she would say, just turn your watch upside down.
This poem, one of my favorites, reminded me of Nat. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands and letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die. People do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. Irene.
As Shakespeare wrote in Macbeth, give sorrow words, the grief that does not speak, whispers the o'er-fraught heart and bids it break. We are here today to give words to our love for Natalie, to the story of her life, and to our grief. Natalie loved words and was a facile wordsmith. She savored and saved words, wise, sassy, loving, playful, honest words. Natalie especially loved the words of the poet Marge Piercy. She came also from a working-class Jewish family in Detroit. She also studied at the University of Michigan and lived for a time in Chicago. She was and is an activist Natalie could identify with and cherish her work. This poem, To Be of Use, speaks to the strong work and social justice ethic that inform both their lives. To be of use. The people I love the best jump into work head first, without dallying in the shallows, and swim off with sure strokes almost out of sight. They seem to become natives of that element, the black, sleek heads of seals bouncing like half-submerged balls. I love people who harness themselves, an ox to a heavy cart, who pull like water buffalo with massive patience, who strain in the mud and the muck to move things forward, who do what has to be done again and again. I want to be with people who submerge in the task, who go into the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along, who are not parlor generals and field deserters, but move in a common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire be put out. The work of the world is as common as blood. Botched, it smears the hands, crumbles to dust. But the thing worth doing is worth doing well. The thing worth doing well done has a shape that satisfies, clean and elegant. Greek amphoras for the oil, pokey vases that held corn, are put in museums, but you know they were made to be used. The pitcher cries for water to carry, and a person for work that is real.
There is a series of hespedim. I invite Gail Hoban, then Ruth Freehoff, Mark Zonder, then her granddaughter Julia, and then finally me to give a few words.
I'm Gail. I have to say that this room full of love and hugs has been very special for me today. And I thank you, and I love Natalie for bringing us together. Thank you. I look out into the sanctuary and I see love, relief, and sorrow. Relief for the freeing of Natalie's beautiful soul, and sorrow for our loss of a wonderful human being. Ours is an intensely complex grief, and ours is also a shared story of love for Natalie. The more I've thought about it, the more I have come to realize that loving Natalie in the throes of her disease forced me to explore my mind and my heart, to try to be open to understanding her disease-induced confusion, anxiety, and sometimes rigidity, and to also watch and to learn that as her disease progressed, she showed nothing but incredible love for each one of us and grace to the world around her. I didn't know until I sat down to sort through my feelings and write this that my resolution would reveal itself. Natalie before dementia and Natalie with dementia were, of course, one and the same person. A woman who asked thoughtful questions, who knew the words to so many songs, and sang with a beautiful voice, who cherished her many, many, many friends, and who was so in love with and proud of her family of origin, and most strongly, the family she had with Robyn, Sana, Tony, and Julia. She had a library of Judaica, clinical research and practice, fiction, history books, cookbooks, travel, poetry, and a shared personal favorite of many of ours, Winnie the Pooh. Natalie was a skilled driver who always took the wheel for errands and road trips. When she gave up driving, she sat behind the driver on the bus and chatted with him about the route. When I rode the bus with her down Sheridan Road, she introduced me to her fellow passengers. She knew all of them. But if she had forgotten a name, she said, "I'm so sorry, I've forgotten your name." And then she introduced us. She was a good cook. And sometimes when she went to a restaurant, she asked for the chef to come out after the meal, and they would chat about why or what had been cooked. Natalie had been talking to chefs for years, and it was always fun. Natalie was brave. She had street smarts, Detroit roots, a PhD from the University of Chicago, and a brilliant career. She once bravely and recklessly led me into LA traffic, crossing Wilshire Boulevard as the traffic light was about to change and not in our favor. I tried to hold her back. "Nah, the light's going to change." "Oh, don't worry, they'll stop for us," she said. And she stepped off the curb, holding her cane high and out in front of her, pointing it at the drivers behind her as they scowled impatiently. I thought her recklessness would get the better of both of us, and I was wrong. And of course, it was perfect that we're headed to the Craft Contemporary Museum, just on the other side of the boulevard. Natalie loved whimsical art. Natalie and Robyn grew their shared collection. My favorite piece has always been Fallen Angel. Natalie had the most beautiful skin I've ever seen. One of my favorite things was always touching her, touching her, touching her. She welcomed, she gave hugs, she stayed up late, listening, talking. My wish is to reflect, to remember, to cry, to laugh, and to join us together in the ways that we carry Natalie forward. In our lives and in our hearts, we are sitting side by side, Let us remember her love, her brilliance, and what we learned to do because we loved her. She needed us to do it. We needed to do it. And in so many ways, she had already done these things for someone else. So pay it forward. Wrap the person you love in a shawl. Read to them. Sit with them in the darkness. Take them out to dinner, especially to their favorite place, even if it's the only place they want to go and you don't like it. Join them where they live, even if it's inconvenient or uncomfortable. Bring them ginger snaps, tiramisu, and Starbucks coffee made just right. Feed them when they can no longer feed themselves. Come to teach them to knit and come back for years just to talk. Steady them. Accompany them to PT for every appointment and cheer for them every step of the way. Help them in and out and in and out again of a car. Write to them, and especially when they can't write back. Talk to them and allow them space for their response when they can no longer speak. Watch a TV show you never watched before and then watch it for several seasons. And fill their life with color and comfort. Help them take their pants off. Help them take their earrings out. And help them when they want to get into bed. Rub their back, their head, their arm. Don't stop. Say, I love you always. And dear Robyn, all we have had to do for the past several decades is to be a part of your life, to know what love looks like. You and Nat went to an art fair, and you fell in love. You and Nat brought people together, and we have stayed together. You cared for each other's extended families. You supported each other's work with considered understanding and patience. You traveled, and sometimes we went alone. Thanks for the memories. You created a home. Welcomed Sana into it. Fed her till she became food snob, just like both of you. Tutored her in math and taught her to drag, although give Nat credit for that. You both said yes to Tony. And you ran up a really good phone bill on a December 22nd morning, announcing that henceforth you would be called Bubby and Grandma. The American Doll Store added a new wing in anticipation of Julia's future birthdays. For just a moment, I will digress to my own children, Michael and James. You and Nat took care of them and held their hearts and their minds with yours. 2 weeks ago, as James and I talked about Nat, he said, and I quote, "She helped raise me." Most importantly, my sons are better than for having Nat and you in their lives. And when Nat's illness fell hard upon her and upon you, you went out and found care and I came to Chicago to be with beloved friends. I made a beeline for Nat. I always call first. Susie there? Is Liza there? Oh, we're both there. Robyn said, when are you coming to the house? I said later. Two amazing, loving people who have touched me so very deeply and cared so much for me. Robyn, you searched for information and expertise. You never took no for an answer. You have lived your fierce love for an act in a journey that you could have never anticipated on that first date to an art fair. I love you.
I felt so honored when Robyn asked me to talk about Natalie's professional life, and I feel even more honored to have worked with her for over 20 years. In thinking about what I wanted to say, it was difficult for me to separate Natalie the social worker from Natalie the person. I realized why. Natalie loved being a social worker. Social work defined her, and she defined social work. Natalie and I were also very close friends, so I had the wonderful privilege of knowing her as a colleague and as a friend. Natalie believed in the impact of stories. Early on, when we began to work together, she shared with me a children's book entitled Mrs. Katz and Tush. It's a book about the relationship between an older Jewish woman and her young black neighbor. Mrs. Katz tells the boy stories about her journey to America from Poland and the good time she had with her late husband. As the boy goes to know Mrs. Katz, he learns about the suffering, triumphs, and rich culture that Black history shares with Jewish history. This children's book nicely embodies Natalie and the meaning she drew from relationships and Jewish connections. Natalie believed in the power and value of relationships. She held strong beliefs about social work. She had quite a career in Detroit, working in a settlement house, innovative healthcare program, and teaching master-level social workers at Wayne State University. All these experiences propelled her to come to Chicago to obtain her doctoral degree. Natalie loved to teach, mentor, and supervise, as well as provide clinical services directly to clients. She was passionate about the clinical work of Jewish family and community services. She expected the agency to do its best to meet the needs of clients and communities, and one way she achieved this was by encouraging professional growth and development. Natalie was an innovative creator of programs dedicated to the Jewish communities, such as the Aid Service and Support Program and the Jewish Healing Network. She encouraged creativity in the Jewish education and support groups. She made certain that older adults were included as an important part of the agency's family focus. Natalie was a dedicated partner to and with colleagues, supervisees, clients, and the Jewish and larger communities. She was a strong leader and was well respected in various positions she held at JFCS, especially when she was the executive director. Natalie's many colleagues describe her as warm, thoughtful, smart, empathic, honest, and funny. They talked about her being constantly available to them, helping them navigate the intersection of professional and personal dilemmas. She demanded the best from herself while drawing out the best in others. She often had discussions with professionals to help bring out their best. Natalie was very articulate. She was clear and direct in her communication, leading with much transparency before this term was so new. She was well known for her speeches to voluntary social service boards, and they were greatly anticipated. Natalie had the unique gift when representing the agency to the community, and she was JFCS's best publicist. She could bring an audience to tears when talking about client and community needs and the impact social workers had.
The JFCS community greatly valued Natalie's powerful leadership during the challenging period when JFCS and JCB were to merge. Although her position was to be eliminated and she would no longer be a part of the new agency, she led the agency with quintessential Natalie, courage, optimism, and grace. The final test of a leader is that she leaves in other people the conviction and will to carry on, and she did exactly that and then some. Natalie had personal goodbyes for each person when she departed. Many management staff received a personalized note card, including a quote by Arlene. Celebrate the doing right and being right of your hearts. Celebrate it confidently, even though external confusions and tribulations still surround everything that is personal and of one's inner world. The moment of an awakening, the turning no longer seems out of reach. Other notes she gave included the quote, "Let yourself be silently drawn by the strong pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray." Natalie often quoted Sheldon Cobb, a psychologist and a prolific writer, and I learned earlier today she shared communication with him, correspondence. She wrote him a letter, and he corresponded back, and I think it's going to be in Natalie's office at the Shalom, so please look. One of his more famous quotes is, "The unlived life isn't worth examining." Natalie had a well-lived life and worthy of much examination. On a lighter note, Natalie also shared other types of life lessons. We all know she loved latest cuisines and dining hot spots. Natalie introduced me personally to the Wiener Circle, and did so with pride, and I must say they have the best hot dogs anywhere. So if you're in the car, please stop here. Natalie positively impacted so many people over the course of her career. Her influence will endure for generations to come. Natalie had an amazing life, and I'm so sorry that her final years were such a struggle. I know Natalie appreciated and appreciates the incredible love and care that Robyn devoted to her, and my heart breaks for Robyn, who lost a life partner. My heart also breaks for Sana and Tony, who lost their lover and mother-in-law, and Julia, who lost her puppy. Natalie, I loved working with you and treasured our close relationship. I will forever miss you. You have had and will always have a special place in my heart.
I'm Mark. I'm Natalie's nephew, and I think what kind of says it all is just the amount of people that are here for her. But I'm going to tell you about the Natalie Ross that I know. I've been blessed, and some of you are here, with amazing relatives. I have the greatest stories. As a kid growing up, great relatives, both sides of the family. Natalie was always number one. There was never a doubt that Natalie was the favorite. And I don't know if it's because she was just a little younger, she was cooler, she was hip, I'm not sure what it was, but she was without a doubt the number one relative. And my parents sent us, our three boys, to Detroit when we were 12 years old to visit and, that kind of thing. And Natalie, knowing that I love baseball, took me to a couple Tigers games. We're talking about Denny McLean, Mickey Lolich, for all you Detroit people. Dick McAuliffe, and she went with another favorite relative of mine, Peter Torn. So she took us there, and we had an amazing time, and she was just the number one aunt. But at the same time, when we got a little older, she took us to San Francisco, Glide Memorial Church, which I don't know if anybody knows what that is. It's not a traditional church, it's not a typical, shul and temple. This was, draft debaters. I'm sure they were smoking weed. The only thing I can remember out of this whole thing was the band was just absolutely amazing. But that was Natalie. She took us to experience different things, and I'll never obviously forget for that. One of the most valuable lessons when I was 12 years old was I'll never forget sitting in my grandparents' living room, probably or 10, very opinionated, chauvinistic men, and Natalie. And they were discussing politics. Well, we all know this isn't going to end well. I'll never forget the lesson I learned, though, was number 1. Like her brothers and sisters, she stood up for herself. She didn't care. You know, it was rough. I mean, we're talking some seriously opinionated, chauvinistic men. Okay, they're talking politics. But Natalie held her own. And the lesson I learned was, number 1, to always stand up. And number 2, not so much nice of a lesson was the fact that families aren't always nice. And it's a real, when you're 12 years old, you think everything's lovely and everything's great, you know, so. And it was a great lesson, I'll never forget that to this day. To this, well not to this day, but up till now, Natalie always sent me a birthday card every year. And you know Natalie, she was a teacher and she liked to teach. She taught me what the word belated. Because Natalie, you could set the clock to be belated. And she was just, it was just amazing what she did. When she did meet Robyn, though, it caused a lot of problems. And I had a lot of anxiety. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to deal. Because all these years, I had this number 1 aunt. And she was about to lose her title. Because Robyn was going to take her. I thought to myself, okay, she's younger, okay, you know, so she's gonna move in and take this title. What Natalie brought to our family was absolutely amazing. And God knows our family could use it at the time. But the warmth, the energy that Natalie brought by bringing Robyn into our family there's nothing to be said about that. Which leads you to Zonder, another addition that is just another unbelievable addition, which leads you to Tony, which leads you to Julia, and there's nothing I can say but beautiful, warm, loving, caring things about these people that are addition to our family, and we become part of their family. Okay, this is where it's going to kind of come off the wheel a little bit, and then I'll wrap it up. I have 17-year-old twins. And when my son, funny story, when my son was born, the doctor goes, no paternity test needed now. You know, he looked exactly like me. But I noticed, and my wife noticed, and a lot of people noticed that as they were growing up, I'd look at their face and I didn't see me anymore. I didn't see my mom. I didn't see my wife. And we agreed unmistakably, Natalie, that I see my kid's face. So as much as obviously Natalie's in here forever, I'll be seeing her every day. And that's about it.
telling me to keep moving forward got me to where I am today. Just like you had hoped and dreamed for. Now that you have given me a piece of you to wear every day in your necklace, I will always remember you, pushing me to be the best version of myself. Although you may not be here to witness my future, just know I couldn't have gotten to where I am if you weren't standing in apartment 2014 with your arms wide open, ready for me to jump into them.
Those were some unbelievable sharing of heart for an unbelievable woman. One look at Natalie Ross, and you knew all you needed to know about how she lived her life. The vibrant colored scarves, the funky glasses, the ever-present lipstick, the twinkle in her eye, the sidelong glance, the laugh. Her soul could not be contained, and her face admitted the light and depth of this truly magnificent individual. Nat was a proud Detroiter. She was born and raised there. Everything's better in Detroit. They don't beep their horns. Anyone would give you a ride, whether you needed to go, wherever you needed to go, even if it meant they had to travel north to go south. The air was better, the people kinder, and one couldn't even draw a comparison when speaking of delicatessens. Nat was brilliant, valedictorian of her high school class, a bachelor's degree at Wayne State, University of Michigan for her master's, and finally, a PhD from the prestigious University of Chicago School of Social Service Administration. But don't let those fancy degrees fool you. Nat hailed from humble working class roots. This wasn't an embarrassment to her. On the contrary, it was a point of pride. As the daughter of Min and Barney, and the much younger sister to Arlene and Martin, Nat had a different familial experience than that of her siblings. Min was a homemaker, and Barney a milkman, who deeply valued his connection to the people he served. Nat relayed that wherever they went, Barney would chat with absolutely everyone. At a restaurant, just getting Barney to the table to sit down was a production in and of itself. I'm sure his concern and interest for the individuals in his orbit influenced his youngest daughter as both a friend and a social worker. As many mentioned, Nat's family did not just encompass who she was born to. Robyn and she were soulmates, true partners in every sense of the word, building together an amazing community of warm, smart, and compassionate souls. The bond that linked them, the bond that links them, is mutual respect and love. When Natalie and Robyn met Sana through Big Sisters, they forged a connection that was as profound as if Sana was born to them. Natalie was always there to rub Sana's head, or give advice or support in any way she knew how. When Sana brought home Tony, and then made Nat a bubby with Julia, it was the most amazing of blessings. No one and nothing made her prouder than being their mom and bubby. To all lucky enough to be in her orbit, she was fiercely loyal and caring, opting to imbue her relationships with compassion and understanding, thereby infusing her own values with the values of the family of her childhood. I would be remiss, however, if I didn't mention one chink in the armor. One of the things that made her friends and family crazy is when they would present a challenging situation or event they had with another, and Natalie would insist on presenting the other's side. Her empathy and insights could be maddening, but this is why she was so gifted at her job. She recognized the trauma and hurt of the other, and the pathologies that made them act as they did. She rejected the notion that people were their flaws. I'm sure that Natalie's calling influenced that of her daughter's son, and she was immensely proud when she followed her into social work. She was supportive but had high expectations and never hesitated to communicate either. Robyn put it best when she said, she was a walking performance evaluation. But her advice was always sage. One of the things I learned from Robyn was this important lesson. When confronted with an emotional tug of war with someone, drop the rope. I tried it with my 18-year-old last night, and it is genius. It turns down the emotional volume until cooler heads can prevail. She was full of these maxims, and her ability to reframe a situation by a short turn of phrase would either elicit a laugh or a moment to consider the wisdom. To be a Jew means to live in such a way that others might experience something sacred because of us. For Natalie, this was best realized by the care and work that went into Robyn and her legendary Passover Seders. She adapted and readapted and readapted the Seder to fit the current state of our world. For Nat, her love of learning took on an almost rabbinic quality. It brought her immense joy to teach her extended family through these Seders. But I think there was an additional attraction, although perhaps unconscious, to this ritual. Passover is the story of a ragtag group of people who are stuck in the narrowest of places, and they make the decision to walk forward into the unknown. Natalie taught others to acknowledge challenge and not to hide away from fear. The only way over difficulty is through it. And that was not just what she counseled, it was how she lived her life. Natalie was a brilliant teacher, but as Sana pointed out to me, she was a teacher who was also a student. Natalie was fascinated and curious about everything, and even Lewy body dementia could not rid her of that. It was, in a way, an extension of Abraham Joshua Heschel's theory of radical amazement, to get up in the morning and look at the world in a way that takes nothing for granted. Further, she upheld the value that we Jews didn't have a monopoly on God. Anytime she and Robyn walked by a church, she went in and lit a candle for someone who was sick. She was culturally competent before that was a thing, because she understood that reaching out to others was reaching out to God. I think that's why she loved the book, Mrs. Katz and Tush. The protagonists learn about each other's triumphs and suffering and find their similarities through these connection points. She saw everybody as the presence of the divine and taught Julia that all people deserved kindness and compassion. All human beings were of intrinsic value. Nat taught Julia to stop and be present to the beauty that would go unnoticed. The street performer, who most of us would have shuffled past, were tipped because, as she told Julia, they make the world a better place. Robyn wanted me to be sure to thank the village, who continuously nourished her soul, for your support and love, even in the face of a horrific diagnosis. Thank you. For your appreciation of her many Nat-isms, the non sequiturs, the multiple phone calls to so many of you to find out the lyrics of a given song, even before dementia, the Borscht Belt delivery of fabulous one-liners. Thank you. for knowing her Starbucks order by heart, double tall skim latte with one sweet and low, and never straying from that formulaic. Thank you. No doubt, the highest honor we can give Nat is carrying on the work we do with the same passion and commitment she demonstrated through the years. Give voice to the voiceless, negotiate the bureaucracies, help another to navigate challenging terrain. All those things bring Nat into the world. Not in the way we want, but a poignant reminder of the best she brought out in us. When we see the positive change we can make in another's life, we know she lives on. To Robyn, her life partner, an exquisite soulmate. To Sana and Tony and Julia, to niece Kimberly and Mark, to Eliza, Susie, unbelievable caregivers that they were, the Sunrise staff, healthcare providers, and to all the many dear friends I look at today, many of whom had a part in this remembrance. You need look no further than your mind's eye to know she is and is always part of you. Natalie, your memory is a blessing and your soul a benediction. May you rest in peace. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, and life is a journey, a going, a growing from stage to stage, from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness and often back again, from health to sickness and back, we pray, to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from gratitude to joy and pain, to compassion and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that the victory lies not at some high place along the way, but of having made the journey stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death is a destination, but life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage made stage by stage, from birth to death, to life everlasting. We invite you to rise for the memorial prayer. שוכן, שוכן במרומים, חמסים נוחה נכונה, כנפי חשנה, עם קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר רק המזהירים, נשמע נחמה בברוך ומינדה, שלך, שלך לעולמה. ארך הרחמים, יסיריה ושאת כנפיו לעולמים, בצרור, בצרור, החיים את נשמתה, עיני הוא נחתה, ותנוח בשלום, בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר
O God, full of compassion, thou who dwells on high, grant perfect rest beneath the sheltering wings of thy presence, among the holy and pure, who shine as the brightness of the filament unto the soul of Natalie Ross, who has gone unto eternity. Lord of mercy, bring her under the cover of thy wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Be God's possession, and may her repose be peace. Amen.
Please be seated.
This concludes the service here in the sanctuary. The interment will take place immediately at the family's plots at Memorial Park Cemetery, 9900 Grosse Point Road in Skokie. Following the interment today, the family will be sitting Shiva at the Ross Golden residence, 5733 North Sheridan Road, Unit 24D. They will receive calls of condolence today until 9 p.m. and Tuesday and Wednesday from 1 to 4, and then resuming from 6 to 9. There'll be a minion at 7 p.m. each evening. That information's on the inside portion of the funeral service folder you should have received. If you did not receive one, they are available as you depart today. I also ask you to please take note on the inside of the folder. The family has asked that memorial contributions be made to the Southern Poverty Law Center and the Chicago House. That information's on the service folder. For those of you watching online, it's available on the website you're currently on. For those of you going in procession with the family, the procession will be forming in front of the synagogue. We'll have staff members out there. Please make sure you have an orange funeral sticker. Place that in the front passenger side of your windshield. Please make sure you have your hazard lights and bright headlights on at all times. For an additional measure of safety, our staff will be placing magnetic flags on the tops of the vehicles throughout the procession. As we drive in procession today, please drive as close as safety permits to the vehicle in front of you at all times. We want to avoid having any large spaces or large gaps in the procession, particularly as we pass through the intersections. For those of you who are going to the cemetery not in procession, please note from Gulf Road to Old Orchard, you cannot go north on Grosse Point Road. So if you're going on your own, enter from the Skokie gate or go north to Old Orchard Road and enter at the main gate. The following individuals have been selected to act as pallbearers. As I call your name, if you please step forward. Peter Zerkis, Susan Knight, Tony Kabalkin, Stephen Golden, Bill Walton, Mark Zonder, Susan Altfeld, and Stacy Rodriguez. At this time, I would ask everyone to please stand as the deceased and family and cantor are escorted from the chapel. Thank you.
cars,